Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Aldo Venturacci, who's a life insurance advisor, and we'll be talking about his focus on helping families with special needs kids. Aldo, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Mike. Glad to be here.
Hey, I'm excited to talk to you because I always love when I hear that people are taking an approach that is near and dear to their heart. So give us a little bit of your background, your story, and then how did you get into financial services?
Yeah, it sounds great. So, I have a 12-year-old son with special needs. So dealing with all of these different aspects of raising a child with special needs and, benefits and planning and all of these things is just kind of part of my own personal story, right? And so I've been doing a lot of these things for, ever since he was born. But then a few years ago, I had an opportunity to talk to someone in the financial services industry who were looking to expand their business. And we had a very nice conversation. And I found that being in this industry allows me to really make an impact and help other families just like mine plan for the future. So for me, it was kind of a very natural transition into the industry. And, I've been a full-time advisor ever since and loving every second of it.
I feel like a lot of times people that come out of a background of a certain circumstance, it tends to shape their approach to helping families. So, you've got the child with special needs, but there might be advisors that have, a parent that lost their fortune to a scam, and so they take that, torch and run with it. How has having a child with special needs shaped your approach to helping other families, even if they do or don't have kids with special needs?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Mike. And I think that, when you have a personal connection or a personal story, it just really allows you to connect with other families at a much deeper level, right? So whenever I'm talking to a family that is going through what I've been through in the past, it's more like I'm talking to a friend, and they can really feel comfortable and open up and be honest and vulnerable with me, so that we can get to their deepest, fears and desires at a much more, personal and deep, level. So I think that using your not using your story in a negative way, but really leveraging, your knowledge and experience and emotions really helps when we're trying to help other families that are going through the same problem, trying to solve the same problems. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's almost like they realize that you have the secret handshake, and they know that you realize their struggle and the tiny nuances that they deal with, from emotional to the practical. And I think that's a really powerful thing that you're bringing up. I know that becomes much of your focus. Not that you're never going to work with families that don't have kids with special needs, but it just becomes something that's near and dear to your heart. What are some of the misconceptions that you come across that when people come to you and maybe they've got a child with special needs, what are some of those misconceptions that you're experiencing, and then how do you address that?
Yeah, so one thing that I hear from every single family that I talk to that has a child with any kind of special needs is the fact that they don't believe that building a future for their children, where the children will have all of the support that they currently get from their parents, and that they won't have financial support, and it doesn't have to be that way, right? So the first thing really is to help them change their mindset around planning and possibilities, right? I mean, parents of special needs children are always so focused on today, like, what appointments do I have to take my child to today? Which government agency do I need to talk to about their benefits today? And we kind of live in 5-minute increments. It really is a lot of stress. So really allowing themselves, special needs parents should really allow themselves the opportunity to have these conversations and plan for the future, because quite frankly, Mike, I mean, most of today's anxieties are caused by uncertainties about the future. And
Yeah.
so if we take a few moments to talk about some of those things, that typically lifts, a ton off their shoulders. I mean, at least that's the feedback that I get every time, we start having these conversations.
You know, in talking with a lot of people in financial services, I hear that there are certain things that like come against your retirement plan that, kind of sock you in the gut as it were, kind of like taxes or volatility in the markets. And one of them is like college, because if you want to plan for or pay for college, then that's a period of time that is, let's just call it 4 years, maybe 5 years, where maybe you're going to be pulling money out. And you have to plan for that. So having a child with special needs, that's not a set time like the 4 years you're in college or 5 years you're in college. That's kind of long term. So how does that factor into some of the planning that you are laying out for clients?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. And what I like to say to parents is that typically, whenever I'm working with a family that without the special needs circumstances, that we typically talk about two retirements, right? Mom and dad eventually are going to want to retire, and we need to look into that. Now, when you have a child with special needs, depending on the challenges that they have, you actually have to plan for three retirements. And that third retirement, it's going to last a lot longer than the other two. So the conversation is very different. Now, college sometimes is part of that conversation. Sometimes it's not, but it really doesn't really change much from any other family, with the exception of that third retirement. So that's really the focal point. How can we make sure that your child will have enough money to last their lifetime to support whoever's going to be in charge of their care after you're gone? So that's essentially what it is, right? Because you may have wonderful people around you that are willing to step in and help out and be, whether they want to be the official legal guardians of your child, or they just want to be around to help. At the end of the day, they're going to need money to do the things that they need to do. So that's why I call it the third retirement, because it is that important.
It really is. And I think that a lot of times people don't realize the kind of the day-to-day, even emotional toll. So I think that this is probably something that you get into a whole lot. Like, okay, I can show you the numbers. Let me show you how to plan for this, and you're going to need this number, this amount, all of these things. But then isn't there a huge factor that comes into play that you almost become like a life coach slash counselor when you are giving that kind of advice, but lacing it in with care and empathy?
Yeah, I mean, again, Mike, I mean, you nailed it. I mean, the work it goes far beyond just financial planning. I mean, we really need to have conversations around what are the parents currently doing now in terms of work. I mean, do they work regular jobs? Is one of the parents, a stay-at-home parent, and now maybe they should or could consider maybe finding a way to make some extra income. I find a lot of these parents end up doing something professionally around special needs. So whether they work for an organization or they do some type of activity that helps other families. So whatever it is, I mean, at one point we got to have conversations that go beyond, just plain financial planning, right? So you're right. I mean, we need to talk about opportunities out there and change that mindset. So it is a lot of psychology involved when we're trying to show them the different possibilities. Because, like I said, parents of special needs children tend to be so focused on today that we don't see a way out. So it's not until somebody comes and shows us the different opportunities or share some ideas with us that we start seeing outside of our little bubble. So you're absolutely right. So the cycle, as you can imagine, of meeting a family and then having something put in place for them is typically a lot longer with a family of special needs than the typical family.
Yeah, 100%. And then that plays into all those factors. And like you said, there's a lot of things to keep in mind. So I know you keep your finger to the pulse of what's going on, and you cannot just wait for the annual review to come up to go, let's make sure that everything is the right way. You might see some changes that are looming for financial planning with families with special needs. What are you seeing in the near future looking forward that people will need to be considering?
Right. So laws and regulations tend to move very slowly when it comes to special needs. So the first thing that we need to do is to look at the present regulations, what they're doing now, and make sure that we're protecting that child, ensuring that the child, whether they're currently receiving government benefits or services today, or if there's any chance that they might qualify for those services in the future, we need to lay the groundwork and set a strong foundation so that they always qualify for all of the benefits that they could potentially receive, right? So now, as far as changes in the landscape, I'm fortunate enough to have built a team around me of professionals in different areas so that we can really provide a holistic approach to special needs families. So whether it's estate planning or in IEP and 504 plans with the public school districts or government benefits, occupational therapy, music therapy. So I have a team of professionals around me that are very in tune with their professions and what's going on in their field so that we can constantly support these families on everything that's new. Like I'm about to do some Facebook lives with someone on my team about IEPs during the summertime, because now the kids, school's out, and what do you do with the child that currently gets full attention at school? So all of these things, a lot of moving parts, right? But especially specifically in the financial services industry, you're right. I mean, I have to be constantly paying attention to changes and opportunities too, right? Because it's not always like new government laws, regulations. Sometimes there's new, insurance companies come out with different, new products, or they change their underwriting guidelines, which allows us to offer even more opportunities for these families. So it's a constant learning curve. I mean, we never stop learning and studying, and it's a never evolving thing, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. And I love how you brought up team and holistic approach, because I'm sure at one point you started in the business and said, "Oh, my clients need this product," and then you started noticing, yeah, but they also need this and this and this, and to really give high level of service, I need to make sure that I'm advising in this area, but these aren't my areas of expertise. So what do? You bring in the experts, bring them into that, that team aspect. Do you hear from your clients that they really find that one-stop shop approach really comforting, that they don't need to go out and find new relationships with some other firm because you're bringing them all together here?
Yes, 100%. I started hearing from families that they were doing great in one area, but they were lacking in different areas. So I heard that so much that at one point I said, listen, I don't see that anywhere else. And so, I'm going to create my own, right? So I started connecting with people I knew. Being a special needs dad, I already knew some people, but then we started collecting new people and adding them to the team. And now, even if that family is not ready to do anything for their financial future today, if I can help them with their education by connecting them to our specialists, or if I can help them solve a problem that they're having with, the medical insurance that they currently have, to me, that's a win, right? So I like to say
100%.
every family that I come in contact with wins by talking to me, even if I'm not the one directly, helping them, but I have the person that will help them. So at the end of the day, I mean, it's a very rewarding uh, thing that we have, because like I said, there's always something that gets done, and we're always able to help a family no matter what they need today.
Yeah, and then using a football analogy, you're kind of the coach, and you bring the quarterbacks coach in, and you bring the defensive line coach in, and you bring the special teams coach in, and all of these people, but yet you see the full field, and you see what your plan, and you're making sure that each of them are bringing the advice to your clients that lines up with what you're laying out. So I think that's a huge opportunity. Well, I tell you what, Aldo, it's been really amazing just to hear your passion and focus on what you're doing with your clients. Give us any last thoughts, and then if someone is interested in learning more and reaching out, connecting with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, sounds great. So I always like to tell families that there's always hope in the future, even if you don't see it today. I know families are out there wondering who's going to pay for all of the things that they're currently paying out after they're gone. And that's a big thing, right? I even hear from a lot of parents that sometimes they wish their kids will go before them so they don't have to even think of who's going to take care of their children after they're gone. And it doesn't have to be that way, right? I mean, there are things that can be done today, regardless of where the family is now financially, but there are certain things that can be put in place today to really help secure the future of that child. So, but they won't know unless they're willing to have those conversations. So my word of encouragement is that there is always hope. Talk to someone who really understands and has the resources to help you. And if they want to talk to me, I'll be glad to speak with them. I'm on Facebook. I'm very active on Facebook, mostly, talking to friends, because I like to make my clients my friends first, and then they become clients. And so you can find me on Facebook. Just look up my name. I promise you, there's only one Aldo Venturacci in the world. There's not another one. So you'll be able to find me also on Instagram, very lightly. And then you can also visit my website at aldoventuracci.com, and you can connect with me through there as well.
Although that is awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure talking with you today.
Thank you so much, Mike. And thanks for helping give special needs families a voice in your show. Really, really appreciate it. On behalf of all of those families, thank you so much.
You bet.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.